All right, so we have three state office registrars who are going to be on this call with us today. I'm one of them. I'm Dean Ferraro. I'm the communications coordinator for PA West Soccer. I've been with them for about 3.5 years and had a few teams in pretty much every district. And I'll just let them introduce themselves. Cheryl, do you want to go?
Yep, this is Cheryl McNogna. I'm state office administrator and state registrar. Been with PA West almost 25 years. Doing it all.
Wow, I can't top that. I'm Gwen, Missouri, and I just started about a year and some months ago. So I'm still learning, of course. I have communicated with a lot of you via email, I know. So, hello.
All right, great. So now you have a face to the people who pick up the phone, and we can get started. So a couple of things we're going to be covering on this. If I can, there we go. We're going to go over the types of documents that administrators need to coach or volunteer. We're going to go over how one of your administrators for your club can create a risk management application. We're going to run accounts, go over how to run accounts report as a club registrar. We'll get into what that is in a little bit. We're going to go over finding players and creating new player applications in Sports Connect. And we're going to briefly touch on migrating teams from previous seasons. And then afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A section in which you guys can ask us what you'd like. I see a couple new people jumping on the call. I'm just going to request that you have your mics muted until we open it up. If you have a question, feel free to enter it into the chat bar, and we will get to it as we can. So let's get started. One of the first things that we're going to talk about is something that we get all the time, and that's I cannot add this administrator to my roster, whether it be a coach or a team assistant. And that could be for any number of reasons. Some common ones that we have listed here are that the administrator doesn't have an approved risk management status, aka their clearance documents. The admin doesn't have a verified safe sport uploaded, or the admin hasn't created an application for the club. So, number one issue that we usually find is that their risk management status not accepted. And we find the best tool for these coaches and other volunteers to go to is our risk management page on our website. You could find that in the coaching tab in the drop-down menu, and it has its own section called risk management right there. So we're going to go over a couple of resources there that we can use. Listed on this page are the documents that our volunteers will need to start coaching or volunteering for a season. And they are the state criminal background check, our child abuse history clearance. And in addition to those, they will either need a residency affidavit that they can also find on our risk management page. If they can use this if they've been a resident of PA for 10 years or longer. This does need to be notarized. Or they've been for less than 10 years, they can file a criminal background check. And there are links to these, the places to obtain these at the bottom of our risk management page. As you can see, everywhere it says click here, those go to the individual places where they keep records of those. Now, it should be noted that once your coaches or administrators obtain their documents, they need to hold on to these and keep these in a safe place. Sports Connect will delete them once they become expired. Sometimes one will expire and it will terminate the rest of them that are uploaded. So it is really important that the coach is the one who is holding on to these in case they need to be re-uploaded. We also don't have access to them, and I don't believe the federal institutions are also responsible for holding on to them. They need to create a new search for them. So it's really important that you emphasize to your coaches and volunteers that they need these. So once they have their documents, they need to upload them through our risk management portal. Now, a mistake that we find that happens a lot with our coaches and administrators are they go directly to their Sports Connect profile, which used to be called Affinity, and uploaded them directly next to their page or somewhere there. It is very crucial that they upload them through this specific portal, or they will not go to our executive director, Tim McCoy's approval queue, and they'll just sit there, or they'll be deleted. Another thing that's important to note is that this is the job of the coach or administrator. This is not something that the club registrar should be doing. This session right here is more so just to help you guide them towards where they need to go to get their documents uploaded. If they have a username or forgot their password, they're more than welcome to call the state office, and we'd be happy to help them with their account that way. So back to our risk management page. At the top of the page, you'll see two access links for our risk management portal. One is just our regular risk management portal. The other is our expedited risk management portal. Now, the only difference is the expedited one has a fee of $30, and it just kind of lengthens the speeds up the process in which they're able to create the application and get it approved by Tim. The reason that we have this is, especially around the time that the season is starting, we just get bombarded by these risk management applications, and they just form a backlog, which is why we really stress that, as a registrar, you encourage your coaches to create this application as soon as possible, especially during the off season. It just makes it a lot easier to make sure that everyone is ready for the season once it starts, and everyone can be placed onto a roster. So we're going to pretend that we're clicking on this, and that'll bring us to our risk management portal. It's very simple. You'll just click your enter username and enter your username and your password. Click login. Next, it'll take you to this page where you'll hopefully see, or your administrator will hopefully see their name, and they'll click continue. Next page, you'll go to the play level and you'll see background check. Once you click, it'll populate the page with a little bit more information. Under your personal information section, after you fill that out, you will see a drop-down menu here highlighted in red. That's where you're going to upload all three of those documents that we went over before: your state police report, your child abuse report, and either your affidavit or your FBI fingerprinting. You'll continue to the bottom of the page, and it'll allow you to advance to this one. This is just our consent for criminal background check authorization, whatever. Feel free to read it if you'd like. Once you do that and you click I accept, sign your name, you'll click agree and continue, and you'll keep going until you can't go any further. It will ask you to make a payment. No payment is due for this. This is a free process. Just continue with the prompts, and eventually you will be completed with your application. So it's pretty straightforward. Typically, the main issue usually is just getting our administrators to get to the portal. But once they're there, it's pretty self-explanatory. So say that you have a coach and they have gone through the whole process. They uploaded all their documents. One way to tell if their application has been created is you'll go into Sports Connect to their coaching profile, And under the license history section, you'll see risk status. And under that, you'll hopefully see under review. Sometimes it does take about maybe a half hour to an hour for that status to change. Beforehand, it'll show as expired or failed, none. But once the risk status has been submitted, it should go under review and show that you are ready to that our executive director is ready to check this out. If everything is correct, Tim will then mark it approved, and you'll see when the risk documents expire next. If it's failed, then Tim will reach out to the coach or admin via email and let them know what mistake that they made and what they need to do to correct it. Because of this, and because he reaches out via email, it's very important that the email address that your coaches and volunteers have in our system is current. It's pretty crucial just to make sure that everything is ready to go. Cheryl, do you have anything to add to this process?
Nope, that pretty much covers it. I think it's good.
Okay. I just needed a sip of water. I'm going to be doing that throughout the presentation. Another way to tell is to go into that coaching profile and check the applications tab. And there you'll see a background checking application is created, and hopefully the date that it was created. So that is how you check to see if an individual coach has their documents created. But say that you want to run a club-wide report on all of your admins, or at least all of your admins that are currently registered for this season. To do this, you're going to go into Soccer Connect, and this is something that a state registrar, or sorry, a club registrar can do. You're going to go into Soccer Connect, dashboard, under reports, you'll go down to the drop-down menu and you'll see counts report. Click on that. Under counts report, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see the club, the league, the club, just for both of those, and then you'll go to report type. So in the pop-up, you will then scroll to admin credentials print status. Click that, and then you'll click generate report. A really simple way to get all of the information on all of your admins. I have their names and ID numbers blocked off just because we're going to be using this as an example, but this will show all kinds of information. It'll show their risk status. It'll show their safe sport. It'll show, I believe it shows if they have a coaching license uploaded as well. So really helpful way to get some information on some of your coaches and volunteers to see that they have all the documents that they needed uploaded. But it is one large document that you have in your web browser. We do find when we're going over registration, it helps to export this as an Excel file. And to do that, you will just go to the top of the page where it says select a format. In the drop-down menu, you'll go to Excel, and then you'll click export. That'll then download a Excel spreadsheet, and once you have that, you could simply click on the columns that you would like deleted for any excess information. You can get rid of those. If you scroll to the right, you'll see risk status. I don't have that pictured here, but I do have safe sport status. You will be able to see if your coach has submitted safe sport, if it's been approved or verified. Safe sport is a little interesting because sometimes, and usually, pretty much only when the email address is matching both in the Safe Sport profile and the Sports Connect profile, it'll connect the accounts and verify them. It doesn't always do this. Occasionally, we have to go in and manually do this. So that is something that you'll want to check if you're still having trouble rostering a coach. Chances are that's why, if they already have an approved risk status. So, sure. Anything else on the accounts report that I may have missed?
Just making sure that they're in the right season. If the coach doesn't have an application for that season, they won't be on that report. From the beginning of the season, you may need to actually go back a season and check that report first.
Right. That's something throughout the whole process of registration that's important to keep in mind. Occasionally, you are just in the previous seasons. Maybe you haven't logged in since the fall or the previous year. So it's just something to keep an eye on in case you're following all of these steps and it's still not coming up. Moving on, we're going to go over finding players and creating player applications. And to do this, we're starting in classic mode. You can go to the classic dashboard mode that I showed you to get into the accounts report, but they're also available if you've been with PA West for a while and just want to do it the old way. Honestly, we use the classic mode all the time at the state association. So you will once you're logged in, you'll go to the players and admin section. Once the drop down appears, you can either just look the player up based on their name, or if it's a new player or a new administrator, you can go to the add player / admin section. Once you're there, you will enter the player's first and last name and date of birth. It is important that you have the date of birth. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is it's very important that the name of the coach or name of the player is exact. So you're going to watch out. You want to watch out for nicknames or hyphenated names, anything like that, because if you do that, it may create a duplicate account. It won't find the player that you're looking for. And yeah, the last thing that we want are 5 duplicates for Sam Smith. Okay. So make sure that that information is exact. In our last webinar, we did have one club registrar also recommend when you're filling out the search, you may want to keep it slightly incomplete, or not incomplete necessarily, but just start with the name. So instead of Sam Smith for first name, just type SA and last name SM. That way it'll give you as many options as we have in the system, and you can kind of just see if there are players that are going by different nicknames. So once you click find, you'll then you may see the player listed here. For this case, I made up this player. You'll then create your application for the season. You'll just fill out the fields below. Just click the district, the club, play level, and create the application. And this is just reiterating what I said before. If there is no player in the database, you're going to need to create that youth player. So you'll click a youth player. You can also do this with coaches if you'd like. Now, you will need a bit of information not only on the player but also on their guardian. You'll need their first and last name. You'll need their address, city, zip code, phone number, and email address, as well as the player's date of birth. But that will create a family record and kind of lump them together, and that will also allow that parent to have a parent profile that they'll be able to access in Sports Connect. And once you do that, they should be ready to be added to a roster. I may be missing something. Cheryl, is there anything else you'd like to add to the player or admin creation application?
The application's fine. You can actually, when you get to that second screen, pick the team. If you know that information at that point. His said no team available, but that's just because it's a demo
Right.
club that we're working with. But
Mhm.
you can add that, and then you will also see next to their name, once you create it, it'll say details, and that's where you can click on it to add their birth certificate and their pictures if you do the manual application like that and don't have online registration.
Right. Thank you, Cheryl. And finally, we're just going to go over migrating teams. And this is just something that's nice to go over if they played in the fall or they played in the previous season. And to do this, we'll go back to the dashboard section. Once again, we're doing this in classic mode. First thing we're going to do is go to the season that the teams were registered in. We'll then click on the clubs tab, enter the district, the league, and the club. Click select club and continue. Oops. We're there. We're going to go from the club config section that it opens with to the teams tab over here on the right. After we do that, we're going to search for all of the teams that were that you would like to get migrated from the season that they were previously registered for. And to do that, you're going to perform a search. For all of the fields, just click all, and then you'll see this team populated below. This is a fake team, but ideally, if you're working with a season that you have a bunch of teams located, they'll all pop up down there. Select all of the teams that you would like to migrate and click migrate selected teams. It will take a second, but once you these teams, you're going to select the current season, in this case, spring 2021. Check all of the boxes for if you'd like to select all the teams that were previously registered. Feel free to just click the select all button. In addition to that, you're also going to go to the right here and select pending admins and pending players. What this will allow you to do is have access to players that may not have ultimately ended up on a roster, but still were part of the team. And just it opens your options a little bit when you're rostering. It's usually pretty helpful going from fall to spring. So make sure that all of these are selected, and then you'll click Save Migration Request. It is very important that when you're doing this, you know exactly which teams you would like migrated. This is not a reversible process. I mean, I haven't really experienced a team that's reversed this. Cheryl, have we had any clubs that have needed to reach out to Sports Connect to reverse a migration ever? I'm sure.
Not that I'm aware of, because it's like kind of almost no harm, no foul. You can delete the teams in the following season.
Right.
And, you know, if you discover you don't need them, it can be a little complicated to get them to reverse it too, I believe.
Right. Yeah, it's a little tricky. The overall process is pretty seamless. So once your screen clears, you're going to go to the you're going to change the season in the upper left-hand corner to the current season. Oh, Shirley, I missed that. Can you go over that for a second?
I'm sorry, what am I doing?
I just I saw your chat bar. I didn't have that open though.
Oh, no, I was answering somebody. So.
Oh, okay. So once, still getting used to the WebEx a little bit. So once you have migrated your teams, you can check on them by changing the season to the current season and just doing a simple team search in the Teams tab. It may take a little bit of time for that to populate, but within probably like a half hour to an hour, you should be able to see it.
Hey, Dean.
Yes.
A quick question. With finding that those leagues that you can migrate to, if it is showing on the club side for the new season correctly, but I don't see it as an option to migrate or transfer the season to, but I'm just not seeing that as an option yet for spring 2021, even though it's on the club side.
Have you opened the season for spring 2021? Is that the issue that you are having? Because that can tend to make it difficult to get the process started. To do that, you'll just need to go to the leagues and club settings and in registration answer a couple of prompts to open the season. And we could touch on that in an email if you'd like. We will be posting. Oh, thanks for answering that, Cheryl. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so that's, even though it's showing up on the club side, it might not be open still.
You do have to open it in both the leagues tab and the clubs tab.
The spring season's been ready since October. It's just whether you've opened it at league and clubs yet. And you can do that by clicking on leagues under your name and see if there's a check, and then go to the registration tab and check to see if there is a check mark by spring registration.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting.
No, actually, that's a perfect timing because we were just about to go to the questions section. So that was perfect. And yeah, I'd be happy to include an opening a season slide to this once we post the slideshow for everyone. That's another good thing to know, and that's a great question.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like to ask about what we've gone over today so far? All right. Well, in that case, does anybody have any general registration questions? We finished this one a little early, so we're all ears. We'd love to hear some issues that you may have had in the past, or any lingering registration questions that you might have going forward.
Hi, Dean. I have a question. So,
Amy, sure.
do some clubs just automatically migrate all of their teams over into the new season, and then can they go in and delete either players or delete a particular team?
Yes.
Is it easiest to just do that rather than start from scratch with each season?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely you have access to add teams or delete them as you would like, as well as players, administrators. But this is just a good way to start the season and just make sure that all of the cards that you were working with in the fall are with you in the spring. And you could edit them. You could change team names. Really, you have a ton of control over it still as a club registrar.
And what
Good
is
question.
the deadline for registering?
The declaration deadline
Yes.
is March 1st. The activation deadline varies depending on which district you belong to, but it runs throughout the entire month of March.
Okay.
Dean, I have a question on, I know a few years ago I used to be able to put siblings on the same, to register them like together, and I can't, for whatever reason, do that anymore. I don't know what I'm doing or I'm not doing that I did before, but I've had to register one sibling, do their payment, do another sibling, do a payment, and I don't know why I can't do them all together.
Are you talking online registration or?
Yes.
Okay, if you're doing online registration, I know what you're talking about. That is we don't do a lot with setting up online registrations. You work with Affinity with that. So I suggest you reach out to their help desk because it sounds like it could be a setting in your system.
Ah, okay.
And you know, if you can't figure it out, definitely give them a call.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Also, we would like to, open up any suggestions for the next one. We have one more webinar coming up, so we're open to also adding some new topics if need be, or just want to talk about the process overall.
It's taken a few years, but I think I got it down. But Dean, I can't thank you enough for how much you help me all the time. So I appreciate it tremendously.
Oh, no problem. No, yeah, we're happy to help you guys. And a lot of the reason that we do this, we are going to be posting this on our website, both in our webinar section and also in our registration section, just to kind of help new registrars with it, just as a reference guide. We're going to be posting this on YouTube and bookmarking different sections of it, just so people can go to different areas and if they want to see how to open a season or not open a season, but migrate a team or create a risk management application, they can do that. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to go over? We've got plenty of time to do this.
Dean, can I just ask one question?
Absolutely.
It may not be relevant to this, but it is kind of with player cards. At one point they were talking about doing them digital. Do we know anything about that with player cards?
I do know that Affinity, I think Tim mentioned that we are playing around with the idea of doing some digital version on Sports Connect, but I don't know if that's been finalized. Cheryl, have you heard anything about that?
Last I heard, they're working on it. It's available. We just have to tweak it to fit our needs with the GDRs. Plus, the referees need to have access to it. And I apologize for any static you guys are hearing. I don't know where it's coming from. The referees have to have it, so they're working on importing it in. So they're telling everybody that they're working on it. Hopefully, they're going to have it ready, but also make sure they have hard paper passes to go.
So how will it work then? Will they just have it on their, like the managers, like it'll just be downloaded to there's an app that they could just go into and they can just show the referees from their phone? Is that how it will work?
Well, ultimately, it's going to be the referee that has to pull up the GDRs because he can also then, he puts in the game number. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a game number. That'll pull up the game. He'll see both GDRs. You can check the teams in. And then also to any infractions that occur during the game, which hopefully will be none, he can also report them there.
Okay.
So, but like I said, make sure they have their passes and rosters just to be on the safe side.
Okay, so basically the managers would still continue to do their GDR into the system, and then the referees will be the ones that would be able to pull it up, and then at that point, they'll be able to check everything out and put in any infractions or anything that occurs at that point, but yet still have the paper ones just in case.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
I do.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Brian Taylor says, I'm showing 14 players pending on my dashboard. I cannot clearly reason for the pending status. Is there a good way to determine the reason for the pending status? I do know that now what I'm thinking is once teams are activated and they're pending, but before they're activated. I'm not quite sure. Cheryl, what do you think about that?
No, when they haven't, once the application is created for the team, for the players and coaches, it is pending. Once they're put on a roster, and accepted on that roster, it's changed to assign. Once we activate the team, they all change activated. And I did respond to Brian, because he's one of my clubs, that I'd check him in a minute to see what he's looking at.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else?
Dean, this is Carrie. I've never used that migrated teams, and our D4 teams would obviously be the same from fall to spring. We use Blue Sombrero, and we have to register kids each season, so they had to repay for the spring. Do you think that would mess up, or can I just migrate the teams in Affinity and kind of, know that they've paid? I know they're all in there in Blue Sombrero because I keep checking. Does that mess anything up on our end?
So we don't really work with Blue Sombrero too much at the state office. I can say that when we're billing, we do use Sports Connect, and we do keep track of who is playing in the fall and the spring. So if you would like to do it in Sports Connect, that might save you a little bit of time.
I don't know if I can. I mean, I can do it in Affinity because it all uploads to Affinity. I mean, all of our players are in there. All of our teams are in there.
Sports Connect actually is Affinity.
Sorry. Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, they used to be Affinity. I think they still show that in the URL, but
Yeah, and they own Blue Sombrero as well. So
right. Yes.
Okay, because I mean, it doesn't. It's really just a click of a button for the H commissioner to, push the team into the old Affinity / Sports Connect. But if I can save him the trouble of doing that for 10 teams, then I can just migrate those teams over because they're the same. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
As long as you have club registrar access, you could log into Sports Connect and have access to that.
Hey, Carrie, I'm from Peter's Soccer Association. We do that. We migrate all the teams every year. Like, we don't make people re-register for the spring season.
Yeah.
So all the teams get migrated in Affinity.
Okay. Yeah, we do we make them play. we tell them they have to play both seasons, but we charge them both seasons, just because there's always like one or two that for some reason, can't play in the spring. And it's just easier to just charge one fee across the board. So, okay, so I can just like throw those teams over as long as I know they're all in there and have paid. That's awesome. That saves a lot of time. Thanks.
I had a question to along the same lines. Like, we use what used to be called Blue Sombrero, whatever it's called now, I don't know, as well for registration. And at one point there was supposed to be a sync to Affinity. Is that not happening? It sounds like still. Does anyone know what the status of that is? I know we've asked about that
Josh,
before.
it like as soon as we put all our players in Blue Sombrero, and then when we roster the teams, there's like a button, I can't remember, hit submit or something. It actually it does a smart connect over to Affinity. And in fact, when our coaches register, it automatically goes over. Like all
Okay.
they have to add themselves as a coach, but like all the clearances and stuff pop over.
Okay, so that works properly. That's good to hear, because I think we've tried that in the past, but it has not worked.
Yeah, no, it did in the fall. That's our first season doing it in the fall.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
John.
I was gonna say Affinity or Blue Sombrero, the systems are working a lot better than they were in the beginning. So it could have been you were trying before and it wasn't working, where now it's a little smoother. The only thing I need to recommend is that you turn off your process where it goes back, like let it come from Blue Sombrero to Affinity. Don't let it go from Affinity back, because if there's, like, say there's a duplicate record that we discover and we fix the record and use the old record in Affinity, it kicks that player off the team in Blue Sombrero. Then the coach, if you're using Blue Sombrero for communication, he drops off that team and the coach can't reach him. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, the combination of Blue Sombrero and Sports Connect, a lot of different ways to do the same thing, but occasionally it does lead to a little bit of confusion. We at the state office are much more well versed in Sports Connect, but we have, Cheryl has kind of seen it all at this point. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Anything just general questions about, being a registrar or team requirements, anything like that?
I have one more question. If we have one child, so I have a team that is potentially looking to be birth years 09 and 2010. If we have one boy that is an 08 birthday. So the rest of our teams are like 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds. If we have that one boy play with the 9 and 10-year-olds, would that bump us, one kid bump us up to U14?
Yes, because you cannot have a player playing down. You have to make the team the age of the oldest player. And then it goes from there. So you kind of got to let your parents know, especially for the youngest kids on the team, that they're going to be playing in an older age group. Now, there's a good chance the district may make it like a 12, 14 age group, but then you run the risk of playing all true U14s, which you're going to do anyway. But yeah, if you have that one 2008 birthday, you have to raise the age of the entire team.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a good question. Yeah, I believe that Sports Connect actually disallows having older kids play on a younger age group. So that would be something, an issue that you would run into if you attempted that. These are the questions that we've gotten. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to go over?
I do want to mention real quick just on the terminology you're using, because it's Affinity is called Sports Connect now, and
Yes.
I was talking with Carrie. I guess we use Blue Sombrero, which is also called Sports Connect now. So it may be confusing for people who use both systems. I don't know if there's a better way to say it.
Cheryl, you're
Cheryl, I
muted.
think you're muted.
Forgot that. Sorry. Thanks. Yeah. No, when I'm talking about them, I know I usually say Sports Connect Blue Sombrero or Sports Connect Affinity.
Yeah.
So that we know what system we're talking about with the registrar, because it does get very confusing since they're both under the same name. And I think when you log in, it still pops up as Blue Sombrero. It doesn't come up Sports Connect at all.
No, everything's branded Sports Connect now. I think the credit card payments still processed through something called Blue Sombrero, but at least on the version that we have, there's no Blue Sombrero branding at all. Everything is Sports Connect. So
yeah, because it pops up because ours actually it comes up Sports Affinity, but it has the Sports Connect, and the Stack Sport is another one that we see.
Yeah, that's the overall company, right? So anyway, just a bit of confusing terminology sometimes, just to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah,
well, Dean is very new school and likes using the most modern name, most recent names and everything else. I'm still the old school, and I'm still back in Affinity. So
I catch myself calling it Affinity too sometimes. Yeah, there's been a lot of recent mergers and just branches of Sports Connect and what used to be Affinity, Blue Sombrero. It is a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
So apologies for a little bit of confusion there. Yeah,
no,
it's a lot.
It was clear. All right, thanks.
So I just wanted to say, like, one of the things I've found to help not create duplicates, when you're saying about hyphenated names and abbreviated names, like, I find that less is more. So if someone's name's Samantha, sometimes I'll just type in SA and like 2 or 3 letters of their last name and then type in the date of birth. And they come up that way. Like, you don't need full names when you're typing in. Just a little tidbit.
That's definitely a good point. I think you have to have minimum of 3 of one of the names, like 3 of the last name, and then you can go from there. It's pretty much what we do here. One other trick, Affinity. So we have one thing at the state level you guys don't have. It's called a family lookup. So we're searching the entire database across the whole thing of PA West when we do this. But we can pretty much put, like, a good example would be a hyphenated last name, or like O'Rourke, where sometimes I don't put the apostrophe in. You can just put the O, comma, space, and look, or as part of the last name, you can just put the O, or you can just put a space and then type maybe Rourke and see if you can pull it up that way. There's a lot of ways to look in the system. It's just learning how to do it. But Mark is definitely correct with shorter, less is more.
Absolutely, that was a great point. Does anyone else have anything about our topics from today that they'd like to talk about?
Hey, Dean, I have a quick question. So we have like I try to limit how many times I bug Cheryl each week, but we have a new coach, and when I go into that report lookup that you were just saying, it says he does not have a safe sport. But if I go look at his profile and his certification history, it says he did upload it on recently. So does that then mean he needs the refresher, or how do I know if he, like, which safe sport he needs?
So
Under the,
oh, go
do you
sure.
want to take that? Did you want me?
Well, I have one idea, but you might have a different one. It could be that it was uploaded, but it wasn't certified.
Okay.
Is that what you were thinking,
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking. What you may look is where their picture and all those certificates are is below there. There should be a box that says verified by. I can't say if you guys can see that. And there should be a check mark in that box. If that box is check marked, it should show up that they have it. If it's not checked, that means it has been uploaded. They manually uploaded it. It wasn't done through any systems. And we just need to know in the state office that we need to check that coach and verify it. And then once we check that box, he will show up as having safe sport.
Okay, so then I have to bug you.
Exactly.
Then you could bug us.
Okay. I'll send you a list. Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, and that's another thing. Carrie just brought up a very good point. If you're going through all your coaches and you find out, that there's coaches that need clearances, if you could just like send us one list instead of sending us an email every time somebody else needs verified. Unless, of course, you're going down the way and it's taking them that long to do it. But if you're doing this master check, and like Carrie said, their certificates there, just send us the list and we'll just bounce through them all and get them all verified quickly and you'll be good to go.
And I have one more thing, and I don't know if this is Dean or Cheryl. So every year, every season, when I'm trying to create my admins, do you guys migrate all the teams over, then delete them? Or do you create new coaches applications every cycle? Because, they disappear between cycles. What's the best way to get your list to the current season without creating individual applications for every single admin?
Okay, I'll take that one. Mark, if some clubs still require their coaches to apply. So this doesn't apply to 100%. But
Okay.
what you can do when you migrate your teams, once you get to the screen where it says you're checking the teams off and what season you want to migrate them to, on the right-hand side, it should pop up migrate all pending admins. If you click that box, that'll take everybody over that may have had an application the prior year, but not been on a roster.
Okay.
And that way they're going to show up in 2021, whether they're on a team or not. Because if you don't check that box, it's only bringing over the admins and the players that were on the roster, that were on those rosters.
Okay. So generally you'll do that even if the team's not coming in, you'll migrate, because our club has sometimes multiple coaches, like coaches coaching multiple teams, so the team that they might have had in the fall, they don't have in the spring. So just migrate them over, then delete the team.
Yeah, I want to say though, if they're on the team, if they're on a team that was activated in the fall and you migrate that and they're not coming back in the spring as that team. You still want to migrate the team, because that pending would only be, say, like you have an application for your club, but you didn't coach anywhere in the fall. You were never on a roster. If you hit that pending, that will automatically create the application for the spring for you.
Okay. Thank you.
But if you were on that roster, on that team that's going away, you're marked as activated, so you won't come over with that pending status. So you're better off marking the team and moving the team over. And to be quite honest with everybody, how you can generate those counts reports and you can generate to figure out who's new and who's not new. We don't pay any attention to that list. I have not had any good luck with it being accurate. So we just look at who's on a roster.
Okay.
To figure out, what you need to pay for. So you're going to skew your numbers by doing the pending, but I wouldn't worry about it because we don't pay. That's not how we come up with a number to see what you owe us.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheryl,
And
can
I think
you,
Dan's been trying to ask something forever.
well, just follow up on Mark there. Can you migrate just the coaches? We don't migrate teams usually, but is there a way for you to migrate just the coaches?
I would tell you to migrate. Now that's only pending again. So any coach that has an application that's on a team in the fall, you're not going to get.
Okay.
And you do spring registration. I believe you have to re-register for spring, correct?
Right.
So that'll pull up with the old ones, and then you might need to go back to the fall session and find them. But one other trick I can tell you, if that's the case, you're still going to have to create applications for each coach, but in the fall, do an admin lookup.
Mm-hmm.
And then click on the first name that you need to create the application for. And then in the upper right-hand corner, I'm sorry, I believe it's going to show like 1 of 20 or however many coaches are on that list. And then you can go to that first coach's record, go to the application, create that, and then just keep hitting that next. And it'll keep coming up with all the names. So that'll make it just a little easier to find all your coaches that you need to create the applications for.
Yeah, it does.
Not a
It
lot,
stay
but
on
little.
that same page. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is good. And we, there's pluses and minuses to being a small club. Doing each admin one at a time isn't so bad for me as it would be for like Carrie and Fox Chapel,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, so the question I was going to ask in the first place, so, we definitely understand, Tim getting bombarded with these certification questions once, it's the middle of March or the end of March. But I think that our inherent problem with the system that I think creates those backlogs is that people who want to volunteer to be coaches, they can't sign up in the system as a coach, right? When they sign up their kid, unless they already have all their clearances and safe sport done beforehand, right? So
No, that's not, I don't think that's correct. They could probably, you mean when they register with Twinborough to say, I want to coach? Is that
well,
what you're
so
saying?
what we're having is somebody will say, well, I want to coach. And I'll say, well, when you register your kid, register yourself as a coach. And they say, well, I can't. It says I need to upload my Safe Sports certificate to register as a coach or admin, and I don't have that. So the problem is then we get behind.
Right, because you don't know who you need to
them down.
look for.
Yeah, right. And then it snowballs down the way, right? So if there was a
Okay.
way for us to get them in the system.
Well, definitely on the background checking side, the one that Dean walked through, definitely you have to have all your documents. What I want to say is shoot me an email and we'll look through the week to see on your application if there's a way. And Carrie, I think, Carrie, you have all your clubs coaches registered, correct?
Right, and Dan, I agree. I mean, we can't have either Blue Sombrero or Affinity. They can't register unless they have everything done.
Okay,
So
let me
So we just keep
see if there's something that can be done so that you can at least track your coaches. So these coaches are there to apply. It may be a setting, because I know you can move your teams from Blue Sombrero over to Affinity. We shut off the connection for coaches to come over because of the clearance issues and because of the name issues, because it wasn't matching up because they're William in the system in Affinity, but they're registering as Bill over in Blue Sombrero. So let me look at that. And Dan, part of your problem may be with Blue Sombrero too.
no, we're not using that.
Oh, okay. That's right. You're doing directly with Affinity. Let me see with the ones who are directly with Affinity if there's a way that the application can be created within the club with no documents. So
Yeah,
that at least
because
you know who to track.
we definitely understand. We don't want anybody on the field without all these things. Like that's
Right.
not what I'm getting at. But it would be way easier if I could at least see them all on the list, so I
Right,
could then see
right.
who gets what. And it also,
Right.
honestly, it eliminates one step for them to have to do. For me to have to pester them to do, because first I have to pester them to even get in the system in the first place. Then I have to pester them to get the clearances and so forth. So if we could talk about that this week, then maybe there's a
Yeah,
way we can change that application. So I'll send you an email.
Yeah, do that. I know definitely through the background checking club is what it's called, the one that Dean showed us. You have to have all the documents. It's whether they can apply to your club specifically as a coach, register as a coach with your club, just so they pop up on that admin list for you to, that's what I'm talking about tracking. So yeah, shoot me an email as a reminder and I will do a little investigation to see if we can get there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, can everyone hear me? This is Bill Knight from Whitehall.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my computer has my mic problems. If someone is working with Sports Connect and like he was talking about, it PA West, it says requires, all the clearances and everything. You can actually turn that off. And we were running into the same issues, but there is, when you set up in Sports Connect, your divisions and your volunteers, you can turn off that requirement of uploading all the clearances when they can register their kid. So just if anyone else on the call has that same issue, you can unrequire all that and then you can chase them on the back end like we all do anyways. But so they can get their kid in and they can get their name in the system.
Okay, we'll add that to the list of things to look into, Bill. That could be the problem, it could not be, but let me check, see how it affects the whole picture. If that's something that can be done.
So Bill's probably right. I thought I checked that and it was like a grayed out radio button, right? Like there was a radio button in there, but it wasn't available for me to make the change. But that could be because
they're
there's
required.
the club
But let me
level
check.
and then there's the league level, right? So maybe you have to
Yeah.
make the change at the league level first to make it at the club level. So
Yeah, you have to change and make any changes, be it dates, whatever, at that level, at the league level. And then it'll appear as an option or maybe not as an option in the club level.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Ryan Pistorius. I just wanted to add to that a little bit that I feel like I haven't had any issues in that scenario if I went in as an admin and signed somebody up for a volunteer position. I don't believe that it requires that stuff to be added if you do it in that way. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you can, yes, you should be able to go in and, excuse me, whether they have an application or not, or all their clearances or not, you should be able to create the application internally, but Dan's looking to see if the club, the coach can do it.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
definitely
I was
as the
gonna say the
registrar,
same
you can
thing as
create
Bill
that
did.
application with no problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as Bill too, though, that I just was going in and looking and it looks like the ones that are grayed out that I see are all name and address information and then like driver's license stuff. But as far as safe sport and all those, I was able to change those. So hopefully that helps or works for you.
yeah, thanks. Cheryl, I'll try that before I email you, right? I might be able to email you and say that Ryan and Bill's suggestion solved my problem. So
Okay.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, just let us know. That's really good feedback.
Yeah, and also too, send me that, just because the more we know, the more we can help other clubs, because they may not have that problem right now and then run into it later and not realize it.
So I do have one more question, but it's not really registration related. So it's about so last fall we had to do COVID signatures for all the families. Do we have to do that again on paper, or what's the requirement going to be for the season?
That
I believe that is a year thing, unless it dramatically changes. I would email Tim McCoy is the one who's handling that, him and with the board and all that. I believe that's supposed to be for the year.
Okay.
But you might want to just double check with him on that point. That you would only then have to get the new coaches, the new participants, not the returning.
Yeah, so we put something on the registration for them to sign, but we didn't know if that was going to be sufficient PA West, because in the fall we were told that we had to have signatures on paper.
Okay, well, I think Carrie, I think we worked with Carrie on this one. She sent us the document and then sent us a list of all those, because Carrie, could you pull a report of who signed it and who didn't sign it, I think?
Yeah, Dan, this was, you and I have been emailing about Blue Sombrero, and this is one of the nice things. I took the PA West, Cheryl had sent me a blurb, And then we created one for Fox Chapel, and you could just create a custom question as a waiver. And then I could pull up a participant list of, like, they actually can't complete their registration until they click accept. And then I was able to pull a report and show Cheryl that everybody accepted both the PA West and the Fox Chapel waivers for COVID.
Right, we did that too. You can't register without accepting. But I just didn't know if that was going to be sufficient. So it sounds like it is sufficient.
I did talk
That's all
to
Cheryl asked for.
Yeah, I did talk to Tim about it. I think there was a similar question. That is, I do think that is sufficient. But yeah, you might want to we might just want to double check with Tim for that.
Yeah, double check, because I also want to say, when you think about it, you know, like you said, Dan, you're a smaller club, but Fox Chapel sending us 600 pieces of paper, you know, to have everybody on file, because we do need proof that our clubs are doing it to stay in compliance.
That was not going to happen. Nope.
I have a question about this actually too. So I'm a brand new registrar to this whole system. And I know in the fall I was just a parent and I signed one of those waivers. So is that available somewhere though, so that we could upload it into a waiver for our club and get it on the registration?
I believe it is. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
Natalie, I have the waiver from Cheryl from PA West. If you want to throw your email into that chat window to me, Carrie Work, I'll just email it to you.
Yeah, I do believe it's also uploaded on our COVID Information Center on our website.
Oh my gosh, Greg.
Yes, it's definitely on the COVID Information Info Center page, and you scroll down, there's a whole bunch of links. It's down there somewhere.
That's not a joke. It's literally 2 seconds.
Does it? All right. Are there any other questions?
I have one more, and it's probably a really stupid question.
No stupid questions.
Because I'm new. So I'm seeing all my players showing up in the system now, and all of them have these X's by paid. But I know, like, as a parent, I had to register my daughter, and so I put all my credit card information in. And when I submitted it, do I have to click something to like make everyone pay? Oops, I think you're muted.
I am. Yes, you probably have to go into payment management.
Okay.
And then you'll see, and like right after the name, I think it's an order number.
All right.
You have to click, if you click on that, it'll show you whether it's been accepted or whether it hasn't, or whether you have to capture all those payments.
I clicked on it and it says pay available and there's a check mark. So
okay, further up above, hang on one. What club again, Natalie? I'm sorry.
We're West Branch.
Okay, give me 1 second here. I need to look at something. Because I don't want to misdirect you if I'm heading in the wrong place. Dan, is yours set up for credit card payment? And if so, is it automatic?
Yeah, that's the only way you can put it in, because it says check, but that was not an option. So.
Well, they used to take checks. I wasn't sure if they dropped that option or not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still an option in there, but an admin has to do that for somebody.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Admin
think
looks up
Affinity
an
has to
account
set.
and goes in, you can change payment to check for them.
Mm-hmm. I think you found in the past it was easier just to take it out and just leave the credit card thing in there.
Natalie, do they all have the X next to them or just some of them?
So when I go into like my player lookup and I'm just kind of, looking at the screen, they all have that X that said we're underpaid. It says not paid. But then when I go into payment management or payment management, it says pay available and there's a check mark.
Okay, so you'll see their name and then you'll see a column that says order number.
Yes, I do.
You want to click on that order number. That'll open up a separate screen for that player.
Okay.
And you'll see how they paid. It says methods, type blah, 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 blah. To the right, it says capture, update, or cancel.
Yes.
If you hit that capture payment,
Okay.
that word, that will then clear that. The total will go to 0. It'll say this payment's been closed. You'll close that. You have to go through every screen and do that. And then when you refresh onto the player lookup, they'll all show as paid.
Okay. So does that have to be done individually for every single player?
The way it's set up right now, yes, but I believe you can redo that. You can set that to be automatically captured.
Okay. I know why it's not right now, just because they weren't sure how many teams they were going to have, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and that's fine. It's just,
yeah.
and you know, it's not so daunting if you remember to keep up on it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're doing, you can't keep up with it. Yeah, but that's how you
You're
have
gonna
to
be
do it.
like, why don't we have any money?
Exactly. There you go. Now you'll start getting some money if you capture all those payments.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
So is there a way, if somebody's credit card charge fails, right? Is there a way to set it up so that they can try that again? Because in the past, when somebody's credit card charge fails, we've just told them to give us a check, right? But
That's a question for Affinity, because we've always
Okay.
stayed out of the payment side since we don't capture your payments.
okay,
Yeah,
Dan,
and not all clubs are taking them, so. I
Dan,
would
when we
definitely
used
check
Affinity,
with
we, if it failed, I would get an email and I would just email them to log back in and try again. And if it didn't work, I just had them call me and you can enter it manually.
oh, okay. Thanks, Carrie.
It was kind of easy.
Yep. And Affinity does have, or Sports Connect does have a help desk number that you can, I believe, locate from your dashboard. Or you could put in a service request, although I find that usually probably get quicker responses when you're doing the phone call.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. Take maybe one more question. Does anybody have anything for me?
Do we know, I know team declaration is March 1st. Is player declaration March 8th, or is it later like it was in the fall? We had 2 weeks in the fall.
Depends on the club. And also too, they're starting a little bit sooner to the, I mean, there's just not quite as much room because a lot of clubs are starting the end of March. So we had to back them up a little bit so we can get everybody done. So you should have gotten an email with the spreadsheet. And I think that was March 8th deadline. So that's a date for initial activation. We can add players afterwards.
Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
And that spreadsheet should also show which registrar you're assigned to from the state office, all of that information. So, well, I think that was.
Team, real quickly, can you tell me where on your, because I'm on your website, the PAOS website, where the COVID information is?
Yep.
Go to the player safety.
Player safety. Okay.
Click on that. Let the next banner appear. You'll see COVID Info Center.
Yep. Thanks, Cheryl. Yep.
And it's all in there.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to ask all you guys if you could send us an email and let us know what you thought, because obviously this is our first and we're trying to improve. If you could just shoot us an email and let us know what you think about it, what you think we could expand on, or something else you think we should cover. We try to keep these to about an hour or so, for the instruction part. But we can definitely take your comments into consideration for the next ones.
Yeah, exactly. And we really appreciate your participation on this one. This has been really informative for us, and we hope it has been for you. Thanks for spending your Saturday morning with us. And maybe we'll see you at the next one. If not, we hope that you tune in once they're all uploaded. So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.